Hey everybody, Omar here, the Knife Shark Guy, and I'm back with another knife review for you today. And today I thought I would go over my entire Kershaw collection one knife at a time, because when I first did them, the videos weren't all that great, and probably you guys forgot all about the videos. So I thought I would just go ahead and revisit some of those knives and talk about why I collected them. Because after all, I am a knife collector with a specific interest in Discontinued Kershaw. And I thought this channel was supposed to be about why I'm into that and why I like those knives. And I have a belief that Kershaw is one of those dominating knife companies that basically invented a lot of the a lot of the new inventions in knife making that we see today. At least it's been my opinion. And of course, they've tried a lot of things, and some things have failed. Some things have actually continued on and are still being used today in knives. So that's pretty much what my Kershaw Discontinued channel is all about. It's to kind of pretty much see where knives were 10, 15 years ago, where they're going, and where they are now, and of course where they're going. And that's pretty much what this channel is about. So let's go ahead and get started. The first few knives I'm going to show you in my collection, again, will be doubles. In other words, they'll be sort of twin knives. Usually the same knife, but in different sizes, because obviously if a knife is in a different size, it's a completely different knife. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Discontinued Kershaw Ener-G 2, okay, and the Kershaw Ener-G 1, which is a much smaller folder. So both of these knives were released in 2009. They were a collaboration between Kershaw and Lee Williams, knife designer Lee Williams, who invented these knives. And I'm going to go ahead and bring them out. So this is the first Kershaw Ener-G knife that I'm going to show you. This is the larger of the two. This is a manual folder. As you can see, it's got sort of that army green G10 look to it. It's a very bulky knife, but it feels really good in the hand. Really nice. The ergos are very good on this knife. Excellent. The steel on this piece is 14C28N. The liners are 410 stainless steel with G10 army green, I guess you could say, overlays. Take a little closer look at the knife. The design is quite interesting. They have these sort of little designs, I don't know what you want to call it, but it does give the eye some place to look on this knife. There's also G10 on the back. The pocket clip is a very nice sort of tight pocket clip. So that is very well done. The most interesting thing about this knife is the flipper itself. First of all, it mimics kind of a front flipper, I guess, because it's not quite up at the top where they have most front flippers. So it's not really quite way up there, but it is a little higher than we are used to seeing. So basically, there you go. Now, what's interesting about this flipper is the design of the flipper. It basically, it's called the Ener-G knife, and I'll show you why. Because the flipper is independent. See that? It's sort of independent from the knife itself. So basically, it's sort of like a stainless steel tang, basically. And basically, when the knife is closed, you just basically take your finger and push, and you're good to go. Sorry about my hand, but yeah, it looks pretty disgusting. Just go ahead and ignore that. So this has very smooth operation. It is a manual folder. It runs on washers. It's a fairly large knife. And since we're getting to size, let's do some size comparisons. Let's go ahead and bring out the Spyderco Swiss Bowie. Okay. And the Zero Tolerance ZT-0900, one of my favorite knives. I had anodized in gold and blue. How about the Sabenza 21? Let's put it up against a bit of a larger knife you guys might be familiar with. How about the Chris Reeve Numzon, which is a slightly larger knife. So there you have it. Size comparison. So it's basically, it is a large folder because this is roughly 3.3 to maybe 3.4. I mean, it basically, I guess if you put it up against, once again, if you put it up against the Spyderco Switchblade, you can see it's practically the same size as the Spyderco, maybe a hair larger than the Spyderco Switchblade. So the blade length of this knife is 2.75 inches. The overall length is 6.5 inches. And that's basically all they have on this knife because it is so old. It is a knife, as I said, that came out 10 years ago, 2009. I believe it actually may have come out in 2007, so 12 years ago. As you can tell, 12 years ago, this was the box that all the Kershaw knives came in. So silver and red with the American flag on it. Personally, I enjoy this design more than their more famous red Kershaw design. And like I said, they came out with a smaller version of this knife. I'm going to go ahead and bring it out right now. Same knife, but it is smaller. Same blade material. Same G10 handle. Same 410 stainless steel liners on it. Everything on the knife is exactly the same, except it is a smaller knife. Now, this knife was pretty much way more popular than its larger big brother, because it was just a perfect size to carry in your pocket. Also made a very nice office knife. And again, as you notice, you may never have seen knives with this type of flipper ever again, this Ener-G. One, because this is the design choice of Lee Williams. And two, I think maybe people probably didn't like the rickety sort of flipper that, you know, you can hear that. I don't think people like that. It probably didn't sound like it was a solid knife, but make no mistake, this is a very, very solid piece. There is zero blade play on this knife. I mean, whoever designed the knife is fantastic. One of the most interesting things I like about the knife, you can see the detent ball right there. See that? There's it's right up front. That's probably the first time I've ever seen that on a folder where it was just out there so you can see it, and I believe it's the same thing on a smaller brother. So yeah, you can see the detent ball right there. So everything is exactly the same with both these knives. It's just one was in a smaller scale. And of course, I believe this knife came out first, and people did enjoy this one better because the ergos seem to be a little bit better. They like the fact that it was a smaller knife. The knife comes razor sharp out of the box. Probably the only thing that people don't really like about it is probably the color. Maybe that army green color didn't do very well in sales, and they quickly discontinued this knife probably 4 years after it was released. I believe the knife that overtook this one, which of course they're still selling on the website today, is the Kershaw Cryo knife. So there you have it. The Kershaw Ener-G 1745 and 1740. If you're on eBay, you may see these knives if you want to know what they're about. This is the channel to watch if you want to find out more about the knife. Like I said, the knife was designed by Lee Williams. I do not believe Lee Williams is no longer making knives anymore. I'm not sure. I could be guessing, but I think he is currently retired. So I might be wrong, but I don't know. So there you have it, the Kershaw Ener-G knives. These are the first set of twin knives in my collection. The first of, I believe, maybe 12 twin knives that I have. Kershaw did a series of these knives where they released a big knife, and then a big brother quickly followed after that. It was just something that Kershaw was doing. Maybe the idea of size was something they felt was lacking in the knife community at the time. Who knows? But the knives that they were releasing back then were released for different reasons. One of the things that is interesting to note about the knives 10, 15 years ago is that the lowest graded steel you could get was Sandvik 14C28N. That steel is now considered a mid steel, and what Kershaw is now using is the Mauve series. So basically they started out with Mauve 13, and then this steel got moved up to their higher Kershaw line, and then they moved on with the Mauve series of steel, which was Mauve 13, which eventually became Mauve 14, and then they just kept upping the number on the steel, but it was basically, a slight change in one of the elements in the steel itself. But 14C28N continued to be supposedly the better steel. However, if you check your knife chart, you will see the difference between Mauve 13 and 14C28N is very minute. Practically not that big of a change. In fact, there's no real change in the steel until you get to maybe CPM 154 or CTS HXP, where the steels start going up and up and up, and then the elements are increased on some of the steels to make them better cutting edges and tougher resistance to the weather and all that kind of stuff. So, but 14C28N was the steel they were using. Supposedly the lower grade Mauve 13 steel had not come out yet when these knives were introduced. So there you have it. The 1740 Ener-G knife and 1745 Ener-G 2 knife. Two knives long gone that you cannot get anymore, technically, because Kershaw no longer makes them, but there are collectors like myself that collect these, and if you go online on eBay, maybe Blade forums, you will probably see this knife go for, back in the heyday, this knife was released, I believe it was, I'm going to say $49.99 for this knife back in the day, $59.99 or $69.99 maybe back in the day for this one right here. So, but on eBay now you'll find this knife going as high as $125. If you're lucky, you'll find one of these small ones for $125, brand new in a box. And this one sometimes I've seen this go up in the $200 range. So keep in mind, these knives are now collectible. That's what makes these knives cost so much. And of course, if it is true that Lee Williams has actually retired, who knows? If you are an actual freak collector like myself, yeah, that would cause the price of these knives to go up because the knife maker is retired. But I'm not quite sure. I'd have to check the internet to find out if Lee Williams is still making knives. Like I said, I believe he is retired. So there you go. This is Omar, the Knife Shark Guy. If you are looking to start your own Kershaw collection, this is the perfect knife to begin that. It's also important to note that the release of these knives were before the spring-assisted era came, meaning all the knives that were released between 2010, beginning 2010, up until, I'm going to say, 2 years ago, right? And with Kershaw. And now, of course, if you look at the Kershaw lineup, they have stopped with the spring-assisted blades quite a bit. They kind of backed off on that, and they have brought back some wonderful manual folders. So That's kind of nice for those of you that are going to be getting into manual folders or are more into manual folders. It would be nice. So again, it makes these more collectible because, you know, this was sort of like Kershaw's first journey into folding knives, I guess, at the time that folding knives were just becoming popular. So there you have it. The Kershaw Ener-G knives. This is Omar the Knife Sharp Guy signing off, hoping you're lucky enough to find this piece of sharp art in your knife collection. Thanks so much and have a great night.